I think his influence was more hidden than broadcast. I'm not sure how much of an international influence he himself directly had, but the people he influenced did. So one of the main emphases he had in the early seminary education was on missions work, and the amount of missionaries and evangelists um, that Princeton sent out to the world is rather astounding. I don't have the numbers with me, um, but in the book that Jeff mentioned, Princeton Seminary by David Calhoun, has a lot of information on Archibald Alexander. And here's just one quote from Alexander: "We regard the missionary cause as the greatest beneath the sun."
Wow.
And in the very founding of Princeton, when they laid out the plan for it in 1811, that document says in the plan of the seminary, as a purpose for the new school, is to found a nursery for missionaries to the heathen and to such as are destitute of the stated preaching of the gospel, in which youth may receive that appropriate training which may lay a foundation for their ultimately becoming eminently qualified for missionary work. And you see something, I think in some ways there's a parallel between Archibald Alexander fostering that missionary influence at Princeton, and also between over in Scotland, the Thomas Chalmers sending out missionaries from the Free Church of Scotland, all in that same time period and progression in history. There's a lot of parallels there. Um, Specifically, around the time that this book was written, taken down by Hodge, which was in 1818. Here's an anecdote from 1816. Um, One of the early class members said that Alexander moved the hearts of the students, quote, by their impassioned appeals for the heathen. Speaking of the two seminary professors, Alexander and Miller, by their impassioned appeals for the heathen. And so there's a whole chapter in the book I mentioned regarding this missionary endeavor. In fact, it goes on, speaking of one of the missionaries to Hawaii, which we will never hear the extent of until the last day. Gathering the natives, working the rest of his life. I believe the last name was, I believe it was a relative of Alexander,
Hmm.
one of the younger ones, who was doing that and spent his whole life in Hawaii ministering to the natives, promulgating Christianity and fostering that amongst them. And these are riches that we will not even know the depths of until they're revealed on the last day.